Halloween is a 1978 American slasher film directed and scored by John Carpenter, co-written with producer Debra Hill, and starring Donald Pleasence and Jamie Lee Curtis in her film debut. The plot tells about a mental patient who was committed to a sanitarium for murdering his teenage sister on Halloween night when he was 6 years old. 15 years later, he escapes and returns to his hometown, where he stalks a female babysitter and her friends, while under pursuit by his psychiatrist. Filming took place in Southern California in May 1978, before premiering in October, where it grossed $70 million, becoming one of the most profitable independent films. Primarily praised for Carpenter's direction and score and Curtis's performance, many credit the film as the first in a long line of slasher films inspired by Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, 1960, and Bob Clark's Black Christmas, 1974. Halloween spawned a film franchise comprising 11 films which helped construct an extensive backstory for its antagonist Michael Myers, sometimes narratively diverging entirely from previous installments. A remake was released in 2007, which was followed by a sequel in 2009. An 11th installment, which serves as a direct sequel to the original film that retcons all previous sequels, was released in 2018. Two sequels to that installment, titled Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, are scheduled for release on October 15, 2021 and October 14, 2022, respectively. Additionally, a novelization, a video game and comic book series have been based on the film. In 2006, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. 9/10. On October 31, 1963, on Halloween night in the fictional small town of Haddonfield, Illinois, 6-year-old Michael Myers inexplicably stabs his older sister Judith to death with a kitchen knife in their home and is incarcerated at Smith's Grove Sanitarium. 15 years later, on October 30, 1978, Michael's psychiatrist, Dr. Samuel Loomis and his colleague, Marion Chambers, arrive at the sanitarium to escort Michael to court. Michael escapes by stealing their car and returns to Haddonfield, killing a mechanic for his coveralls and stealing a white mask, a rope, and knives from a local hardware store. The next day on Halloween, high school student Laurie Strode drops off a key at the still unoccupied and dilapidated Myers home her father is trying to sell. Michael stalks her throughout the day, and she notices, but her friends Annie Brackett and Linda Vanderklok dismiss her concerns. Loomis arrives in Haddonfield in search of Michael and finds Judith's tombstone missing from the local cemetery. He meets with Annie's father, Sheriff Lee Brackett, and they both investigate Michael's house, where Loomis tells Sheriff Brackett of the danger Michael poses. Sheriff Brackett is doubtful of Michael's danger but goes to patrol the streets, while Loomis waits at the house, expecting Michael to return. Later that night, Laurie babysits Tommy Doyle, while Annie babysits Lindsay Wallace across the street, unaware that Michael has followed them. Michael also kills the Wallace's dog. When Annie's boyfriend, Paul, calls her to come and pick him up, she takes Lindsay over to the Doyle house to spend the night with Laurie and Tommy. Before Annie can leave, Michael, who hid in the back seat of her car, strangles her and slits her throat. Soon after, Linda and her boyfriend, Bob Sims, arrive at the Wallace house. After having sex, Bob goes downstairs to get a beer for Linda, and Michael stabs him to death. Michael then poses as Bob in a ghost costume and confronts Linda, who teases him to no effect. Annoyed, Linda calls Laurie, but Michael strangles her to death with the telephone cord just as Laurie picks up. Meanwhile, Loomis discovers the stolen car and begins searching the streets. Suspicious, Laurie goes over to the Wallace house across the street and finds Annie, Bob, and Linda's bodies, as well as Judith's headstone, in the upstairs bedroom. Laurie cowers in the hallway, where Michael suddenly appears and attacks her, causing her to fall backwards on the staircase. Injured Laurie narrowly escapes and flees back to the Doyle's house, where she gets Tommy to wake up and let her in, then orders him and Lindsay to hide. Michael gets in and attacks her again, but she keeps him at bay by stabbing him with a knitting needle, a coat hanger, and his own knife, temporarily knocking him out each time, then tells Tommy and Lindsay to go to a neighbor's house down the street and have them call the police. Loomis sees the kids running from the house and goes to investigate, finding Michael and Laurie fighting upstairs. During the fight, Laurie rips Michael's mask off, making him hesitate and put it back on. Loomis shoots Michael 6 times, knocking him off the balcony. Agreeing with Laurie that Michael is the boogeyman, Loomis walks to the balcony and looks down to see that Michael has vanished. Unsurprised, he stares off into the night as Laurie begins to sob. Michael's breathing is heard during a montage of locations he had recently been, indicating he could be anywhere. After viewing Carpenter's film Assault on Precinct 13, 1976, at the Milan Film Festival, independent film producer Erwin Yablans and financier Mostafa Akkad sought out Carpenter to direct a film for them about a psychotic killer that stalked babysitters. 11/12, in an interview with Fangoria magazine, Yablans stated, "I was thinking what would make sense in the horror genre, and what I wanted to do was make a picture that had the same impact as The Exorcist." 11. Carpenter agreed to direct the film contingent on his having full creative control. 13. And was paid $10,000 for his work, which included writing, directing, and scoring the film. 14. He and his then-girlfriend Debra Hill began drafting a story originally titled The Babysitter Murders. 15. Yablans subsequently suggested setting the movie on Halloween night and naming it Halloween instead, to which Carpenter agreed and developed a story. 15, 16, 17, Carpenter said of the basic concept, Halloween night. It has never been the theme in a film. My idea was to do an old haunted house film. 18. Film director Bob Clark suggested in an interview released in 2005-19, that Carpenter had asked him for his own ideas for a sequel to his 1974 film Black Christmas, written by Roy Moore, that featured an unseen and motiveless killer murdering students in a university sorority house. As also stated in the 2009 documentary Clark World, written and directed by Clark's former production designer Darren Abram after Clark's tragic death in 2007, Carpenter directly asked Clark about his thoughts on developing the anonymous slasher in Black Christmas. "I did a film about 3 years later, started a film with John Carpenter, it was his first film for Warner Brothers, which picked up Black Christmas. He asked me if I was ever gonna do a sequel and I said no. I was through with horror, I didn't come into the business to do just horror." He said, "Well, what would you do if you did do a sequel?" I said it would be the next year and the guy would have actually been caught, escaped from a mental institution, go back to the house and they would start all over again. And I would call it Halloween. The truth is John didn't copy Black Christmas, he wrote a script, directed the script, did the casting. Halloween is his movie and besides, the script came to him already titled anyway. He liked Black Christmas and may have been influenced by it, but in no way did John Carpenter copy the idea. 15 other people at that time had thought to do a movie called Halloween but the script came to John with that title on it. It took approximately 10 days to write the screenplay. 15. Yablans and Akkad ceded most of the creative control to writers Carpenter and Hill, whom Carpenter wanted as producer, but Yablans did offer several suggestions. According to a Fangoria interview with Hill, Yablans wanted the script written like a radio show, with booze every 10 minutes. 11. By Hill's recollection, the script took 3 weeks to write, 20, and much of the inspiration behind the plot came from Celtic traditions of Halloween such as the Festival of Samhain. Although Samhain is not mentioned in the plot of the first film, Hill asserts that